at Test Drive have driven a number of the Ford Raptor branded vehicles over the last couple months. James just had the Ford Bronco Raptor, and I drove the Ranger Raptor not too long ago, but this is the Big Daddy. This, my friends, is the 2024 Ford F-150 Raptor R. Priced at $153,000 Canadian, about $114,000 in the US. It is a much better deal if you're buying it down south of the border, because we also have almost $11,000 of luxury tax because this vehicle is so expensive. But why would you want to be considering this? Well, under the hood here is the high output 5.2-liter supercharged V8 engine producing 720 horsepower, 640 pound-feet of torque. Now, nobody else really makes a super monster truck like this. The only other one was the Ram TRX. So power numbers on that 6.2-liter supercharged V8 was 702 horsepower and 650 pound-feet of torque. So a little bit more torque, but less horsepower. There is a lot to go over when it comes to this truck, but we've covered a number of upgrades that you get when you go with the Raptors. We've also extensively covered the 2024 F-150. So if you want to know everything there is to know about this generation F-150, I suggest you take a look at the XLT video that we did, because right now we're going to go over what makes this different with the Raptor R. So if you're going up to the Raptor R, obviously you're going to be spending quite a bit more over the regular Raptor, but you do get quite a bit for it. Not just the engine, we also have these 37x12 all-terrain tires. They are beefy and enormous, but they don't have tons of road noise. So if you're driving on the road like I am, they're surprisingly good. We also have the new dual valve shocks by Fox. Now the regular Raptor and then the previous model year had the live valves. Now they have added the dual valve setup here, and the setup here is tuned by Ford. There's a lot of engineering and software that goes into how these shocks work off-road. So it's not just an off-the-market kit that they've put on this vehicle. This will be unique to the Raptor R, so the experience from this versus an aftermarket setup will be completely different. We also have the modular front bumper, and this is the first time I think that we featured a vehicle from the factory that actually uses the auxiliary switches on the inside. We have two sets of fog lights, one on the outside and then one on the inside of the bumper here. So the regular ones are controlled through the fog light button, and then the aux1 button will turn on that inner one, which is pretty cool. We also have the black suede and leather Recaro racing seats, Raptor R badging and theme on the exterior, including these new graphics, which I think look pretty cool. I mean, if you want people to know that you have the absolute best F-150 there is, you'll want to show it off. We also have the code orange tow hooks with the unique 17-inch beadlock rims and the unique carbon fiber appliques on the interior. Now, we've talked about the Raptors before. They are meant for off-roading, but they still do have on-road performance. So let's say you take it off-road. There are a couple things that make this unique over some other pickup trucks or even SUVs that you might want to do off-roading with. There's a terrain management system with up to 7 different modes to be able to adapt the vehicle to whatever terrain you're driving along. There's also the standard trail control system, which is a cruise control system for off-roading. And we also have one-pedal drive, something that we usually find on electric vehicles, but it is available on this because if you are off-roading, you're doing small, minute changes, maybe it's easier for you to use one pedal instead of 2. Now, I would have loved to have taken this vehicle off-road. We talk about that all the time here on Test Drive. I don't have the capabilities here, but there are a lot of people that have done it off-road. So what we're going to be doing today is taking this on the road, because most people are going to be driving this on the pavement. We're going to talk about how this compares to the Ranger Raptor. Yes, my friends, that's the vehicle I'm comparing this to, because I thoroughly enjoyed that little pickup truck. So does this live up to what I expected the Raptor R to offer? And would I go with this or the Ranger Raptor? All right, my friends, let's talk a little bit about the fuel efficiency or lack thereof when it comes to this Raptor R. Unsurprisingly, we completed our test loop in one of the worst fuel efficiency ratings we've gotten so far. 15.2 liters per 100 kilometers. That was in normal mode with comfort, everything. Exhaust is still on Baja mode because, you know, you gotta have a little bit of fun. But yeah, not great. We're currently averaging 22 liters per 100 kilometers as of right now. Now, to be fair, that's a lot of idling, you know, filming B-roll, things like that, cars running. Not great. 219 kilometers I've driven, which means I have used up almost half the tank, and I've done nothing. But that's what you get when you sign up for this kind of truck, much like it was when we featured the Ram TRX a couple of years ago. It's just going to use a lot of fuel. That's what you're getting. So let's talk a little bit about the Ford F-150 Raptor R and see how it kind of compares to what I think is kind of the perfect performance off-road mix if you want to pick up truck and have all of those fun bits on it. Was the Raptor Ranger. I really like that truck. And in fact, you know, I think back to it all the time as I'm driving this because I booked this vehicle. You know, while I had the Ranger, I emailed the fleet management company out here to ask them, hey, I'm loving this truck. Can you give me the F-150 Raptor? And they had the R available, so I took that. So yeah, let's talk about that in a minute. Let's talk a little bit about the experience on this truck. You know, it's surprisingly smooth on the road. I do feel like a little bit of like the road as you're going along. It's huge off-road tires. That is to be expected, but these dual shocks from Fox really do work. I mean, I'm quite impressed with the overall ride of it. Interior road noise, you know, it's kind of what you would expect because the engine and exhaust is loud. It kind of drones out a little bit of the road noise, which is nice. There is an option to quiet start the exhaust. I don't know why you would want to do that. I wouldn't. Your neighbors are probably going to appreciate it if you do, but you didn't buy this truck for your neighbors, did you? You bought it for yourself to have fun, and that's exactly what you're going to be doing with it. So ride is good. Seat comfort, I like the seats. These are the Recaro racing seats, half leather, half suede, comfortable enough. Good amount of support, good amount of movement. You know, quite a few power options plus the driver memory. So good stuff there. I mean, like, there really isn't much to complain about when it comes to the overall vehicle. Yes, it's really pricey at $153,000. I mean, it's a lot of money. Is it twice as good as the Ranger Raptor though? Because that's essentially what we're looking at, is twice the price. And I'd say no, personally. But that's me. You know, I like the look of this. I think it looks really aggressive. You've got the extreme flares on the fenders for this. It's so big, you've got the side markers built into the fenders. It looks really cool. The front with the daytime running lights. Oh my God, you can't mistake this for any other pickup truck on the road. So there's a lot of good when it comes to this. But is it really twice as good because it's twice the price of the Ranger? I don't think so. I think if it were my money, I would go with the Ranger. You're getting, you know, it's a smaller truck, so not as powerful, but it's adequate for that size of a vehicle. You know, the power to weight ratio on that, while it's not as good as this supercharged 5.2 liter V8, it's still good enough. And I think that it gets you a lot of what you want out of a off-road truck and a performance truck mixed into one without really having to spend a whole lot of money. I mean, both of them are expensive when you compare them to things in the market, but you know, this is kind of unique. Ram still offers the 24 TRX, but it's going to be going away. It's not going to be offered anymore. At least as of right now, there is no way to get a TRX. So, you know, if you want that, this is the year to do it. But yeah, this is the way to go if you really want like a true performance-oriented pickup truck, because it's got the sound, it's got the power. Oh, it's got the get up and go now. I have kept this vehicle in two-wheel high mode. When you put it into sport mode, it really does force you into automatic 4, which is fine, right? You're going to lose a little bit on turning radius because the front wheels are engaged. You're going to lose a lot on fuel efficiency because the front wheels are engaged, but you get a lot more traction, and that's the big thing. I've noticed, especially in manual shift mode, this thing will chirp almost every single gear you're in because there's so much power. You know, 720 horsepower is a lot of power, especially if you have an unladen truck. There's nothing in the back, so there's very little weighing it down, which means you don't quite have as much grip get off the go, which is why it kind of forces you into 4 high. So if I do that, we'll put it into 4 automatic, and I'll give you a bit of an idea here as we're cruising along, but you can just hear it. Oh yeah, I mean, it sounds good. Now, I have played around with manual shift mode. We're currently in manual shift mode. You have big paddle shifters here. They're not, they're not quite as nice as, say, like an Alfa Romeo, but they do feel good to the touch. But I find that the transmission does shift kind of slow. So if you really are pushing the truck, you want to make the most out of your driving experience. Personally, I would say keep it in automatic shift mode, because transmission is just too slow to really be viable. Because like I'll shift down, takes a second. Shift up, and there it goes. Like, it's, especially in the lower gears, when you're really pushing it, there is quite a delay in getting into the next gear. So I'd say keep it in automatic mode. The best use of the manual shift mode is slower speed sort of enjoyment, right? So you're not going to be doing it on a track. Maybe you're going to be doing it off-road. I don't know, you tell me. But for me, I've enjoyed using manual shift mode when it's just like I'm going a little bit slower. So for example, here, we're gonna make this turn, and I'm not gonna rip it. Like, I'll give it some gas, but I'm shifting. It's a little slower than I really would expect it to be, but it works. So that's how I use it. I'm not gonna go to redline in manual shift mode because I know it's just not gonna shift when I need it to. So let's put it back into automatic mode. Forget about it, leave it like that. Enjoy the truck, enjoy the symphony that comes out of the exhaust, because that's really why you're buying this. It sounds great, it wakes people up, and I gotta say that even though from up here it sounds good, and I know it's loud out of the back, I can tell it's loud because people do stop and stare. They'll be doing their thing, I'll rip by, and people will look, especially Ford owners, people who are driving current generation F-150s or Mustangs especially. Mustang guys are checking me out quite a bit. And I understand why, because it sounds great. Oh yeah, effortless power. I mean, this thing just picks up. Now, it wouldn't be much of a performance video if we didn't do some performance testing. I've been driving around this in sport mode with sport everything, but I haven't done any actual launches with it. We are in 4 automatic. I've turned off traction control. So we bring it to a stop. Oh, holy Christ! Whoa, buddy. That's fast. Oh my God. Now, because there's so much power going to the rear wheels, I could easily do some burnouts with this. It would not be hard. Oh my God, it's so fast. Oh, yeah, you can get into a whole lot of trouble with this thing. It's fast. Yes, sir. So there you go. A couple launches there. That's got to be, yeah, I think Car and Driver said that they got 3.3 seconds, 3.5 seconds, 0 to 100 with this thing. I believe it 100%. Oh, yeah, that's good. Now, I want to mention I did just film the Hummer EV SUV, and it's got a 3-motor electric setup, 830 horsepower, and then GM says 11,500 pound-feet of torque. I don't really believe that, but anyway, I drove that, did the same thing, did launch control, and I had to stop after 80 kilometers an hour. It was too scary for me. It was not controllable on the road, whereas this is a lot easier to control. It's just, it kind of makes more sense, right? You got the engine up the front, it powers all 4 wheels with the transfer case in the middle. You can decide if you're in 2-wheel drive or 4-wheel drive. It's a little bit more linear. So I like the experience of this, just, not, I wouldn't say more, but it's a little bit more familiar to do it this way. And I like it. So here's the thing. Is it worth $153,000 here in Canada, an extra $10,000, $11,000 almost in a luxury tax? I don't know. I'd say no. I think that it's extremely fun. There's not going to be a lot of them on the road, so it will be unique. I personally would not go with this because the Ranger Raptor ticks off all the boxes for me. I'd get rid of the running boards on that, and I would be pretty much happy with the build that we had on the other one, just without the sunroof. There's no sunroof on the Ranger. That's the only downside. This, you know, we've talked about it, the F-150 has gotten so expensive, and because this is the best of the best, it's a little bit harder of a pill to swallow because it is so expensive. So this is going to be a really small segment of buyers, people who are looking at getting the best F-150 money can buy and having the most performance out of it. So if you're in the market for it, you don't really need to worry whether or not it's the best or not, because going into 2025, it's the only one now that the Ram TRX is dead. So your options are electric or you get this. So it's still a good buy, but the Ranger for me makes more sense economically. But what do you think about this Ford F-150 Raptor R? Let us know in the comments below. We do get back to everybody that we can, so make sure you leave a comment. Let us know what you think. Anything else about the show, the truck, anything, we want to hear from you. We invite you to subscribe to the channel as well, as you'll get notifications right away if you click that bell as to when we upload new videos. We've got 3 videos a week minimum, so there's a lot of test drive happening all the time. But we appreciate you watching, and until next time, take care.